Welcome to the Clique podcast. I'm Dani Watson, a mindset and manifestation expert and founder of the Clique, a company that helps women overcome their fears and limiting beliefs to create a life and business that they love. Within this podcast, I will help you get clear on what you want, identify the blocks that are holding you back, transform your mindset and raise your vibration so that you can co-create magic with the universe. If you are looking to design a life that truly sets your soul on fire and manifest more success and abundance, then you are in the right place. Hello ladies, I hope you're all having a wonderful start to your week. I am recording this podcast episode. I'm actually sat in my bedroom and I've got my terrace doors open and I'm looking out onto the sea, and there's all of these tiny little white boats dotted on the sea. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. I can tell it's just going to be a really, really lovely day. And yeah, it's just been a reminder for me of why I moved here. For those of you who aren't aware, so myself and my family, we moved to the southern part of Spain in January this year, something that I'd been manifesting for quite a long time, pretty much since I started my business around 6 years ago. And yeah, just this morning was just one of those reminders of how far I've come and just how grateful I am that, you know, I discovered this work and I've been able to really be intentional about what I want for my life. And yeah, so I just thought I'd share that. Anyway, this episode, I want to dive into how the small things can help lead us to the bigger things, okay? And how manifesting the smaller manifestations can really help us take those big giant leaps when it comes to making changes in our lives, in our finances, in our health, whatever it is we're looking to make changes in. Now, I say this because I don't know about you, but when I first kind of discovered this world of manifestation, and I did a vision board, right? Which I know many of you will have done before. And vision boarding is something that I still love to do. And on that vision board, I started to put all of these really big ideas and big dreams of what I wanted my future to become. So I started to look at, pictures of the dream house, the dream car, the travel, the multiple 6-figure, 7-figure business, the freedom. I started to kind of really visualize that big picture. And it felt really, really exciting. However, at the back of my mind, I was telling myself, this is not going to be an overnight thing. This isn't going to be something that happens until way into my future. Now, admittedly, it happened actually a lot sooner than what I perhaps anticipated it would. And some of the incredible things that I've manifested, for example, the house that I have recently purchased in Spain, my other house that I've purchased in the UK, those are pretty big manifestations. The leap into 7 figures within my business, another pretty big manifestation. These things definitely happened a lot sooner than what I initially anticipated. And I think one of the things that really, really helped me with this was that I began to normalize the process of manifestation. I began to normalize this idea of asking for what I wanted and getting it. And I did this through the process of actually manifesting smaller things. Okay, and so I wanted to dive into this because, as I mentioned, so often it's easy to get distracted by the bigger, more exciting stuff. But the issue with a lot of those things is that the identity that we are in when we start to dream up those ideas is not the identity we need to be in order to receive those things. Because our current identity is often laced with all of these limiting ideas and beliefs about what is possible for us, about what we're able to achieve and when, about our worthiness to receive. And we are often still, especially at the beginning of discovering this work, we're still in perhaps that state of disbelief that manifestation can really work for us, that we can just ask for what we want and then, getting that clarity means that we can have it. Okay, so these smaller manifestations then, What I'm talking about is just little things that you can start to manifest into your day-to-day life that right now just feel so possible, so doable. Like you feel like you could snap your fingers and you could have it tomorrow if you really wanted it. I want you to start paying attention to those things because it is from my experience, through that sort of constant manifestation on a day-to-day basis of even just the smallest of things that has really helped me strengthen my belief that anything I want is possible. Now, one of the other issues that I've found with sort of our big desires, our big goals. So say, for example, you really, really want to own your own dream home, or you really, really want to be able to be in a position to quit your job and, manifest this really successful business. Sometimes when we really, really, really want something, we almost block ourselves in that wanting, in that desiring. We can actually sometimes block ourselves from having that thing. And I've explored a lot around this topic. And what, from my realization, it all comes down to is this kind of concept that often we're sort of taught perhaps at a very, very young age, that we can't necessarily have all of the things that we want. Or if we do, they certainly can't come easily. Okay, so it's almost like the double-edged sword of manifestation, because manifestation requires us to get clear on our desires, and it requires us to have that desire, that wanting, that longing. We have to be excited about our dreams. Okay, but the opposite of that is that when we really, really want something, it can often come with all of these negative beliefs as well about being not deserving of that thing, about, because it's so amazing, it's not possible for me, So here we're in a bit of a sticky situation then, because we can simultaneously really, really want something, but in that wanting, we can actually be blocking that thing from coming into our life. Something that I actually noticed for me, and this was really in regards to manifesting my current home that I bought in January of this year. So, as I said, something that kind of really came into my vision board very early on in my journey. And it's something that I really, really wanted. And I could see it very, very clearly. I could see me living somewhere warm. I could see me living in this beautiful space. I really, really wanted it. I mean, especially back then, back in the beginning when I was living in a rented 2-bedroom flat, I was living in the living room. Like that back then, I really, really, really wanted it. But something that I really remember being quite prominent at the time was that fear of trying to manifest it and then it never actually coming into reality. It was almost like by keeping my dreams and desires as almost these ideas, it actually felt a little bit safer because there was always that hope that it could one day come into reality. So a big fear of mine was, this fear that, okay, well, what if it doesn't happen? But also on the other side, I also realized I had this really strong fear about, well, what if I get there, but then something happens to take all of that away? What if I ultimately manifest everything that I want, but then something happens to ruin all of that and I lose it all? And so I found that was a big prominent thing for me, this fear of having something and then losing it. So it almost felt safer to just not have anything at all, to almost kind of have those desires on a vision board and to get excited by those things. But it almost felt safer to keep them as a bit of a dream, a bit of a fantasy, rather than feeling like, okay, this is something I'm going all in on. Now, something else that was quite interesting was this idea that I'd almost expected to just not get what I wanted in life. It almost become my normal to settle for things or, settle for less than what I knew that I deserved, or to settle when it came to careers, or to just kind of suck things up, even though, I was perhaps in a situation that I knew wasn't serving me, or doing something that I knew didn't really bring me joy, to just get on with it anyway. I was very much stuck in that mentality. And I think, again, this is often when we're in this mentality, it's a product of our upbringing. It's what we're taught. It's what we've experienced, perhaps from our parents' behavior, or, the people around us. This idea that, even if life isn't as we really want it to be, we just have to get on with it. That's just how life is. Life isn't always going to be amazing. We don't always get what we want. Okay. We do have to sometimes just settle for something and just kind of stick with it. And this was very much my programming. It's definitely my programming when it came to career. I realized as well, it was also my programming when it came to relationships. I've spoken previously about a relationship that I had where it really kind of knocked all of my confidence. But actually, looking back across all of my relationships I had in my 20s, the majority of those relationships, I never felt truly happy, but I stayed in them because I convinced myself, well, maybe this is as good as it's going to get, I should just continue with this. Maybe this is all that's available for me. And so again, it was this sort of idea of settling for less than what we perhaps deserve, or less than what we know we are capable of. And what the issue is with this is that when it comes then to these bigger manifestations, we kind of have these ideas in our mind, but there's a part of us saying, you can't have that. You should just be happy with what you've got. You should just, be content with where you are at right now. And so then again, we kind of block ourselves because we say we want something, but equally we're telling ourselves that we can't have it. So coming back then to these sort of smaller manifestations, what they allowed me to do from my experience was to help me get into that energy of I'm allowed to ask for what I want and I'm allowed to get it. If I say that I want something, it is my right to be able to have that thing. And it feels a lot easier when you're doing that with the small stuff versus the bigger stuff. It's almost like you can build yourself up to those bigger things. So let me give you some examples of what the smaller manifestations perhaps could look like. So a really sort of fun thing that I manifested, and I remember doing this it was ages ago now. I was looking for a new journal, a new sort of planner. And I had these very sort of specific ideas of what I wanted in terms of color, in terms of layout of the pages. And I remember I'd been looking for this planner and feeling quite overwhelmed with all of the choices, and nothing really seemed to fit. And so this was very much at the beginning, and I was very much experimenting with the law of attraction stuff. And I thought, you know what, I'm actually going to start applying these principles of law of attraction to finding this planner. And so I, started to get really clear and intentional about what the planner was going to look like, and started to basically expect that this planner was just going to magically appear into my life, and it was just going to be easy, and I wasn't going to have to search for hours on the internet looking for it. It was just going to show up for me. And it was really, really funny because at the time, I had a really pretty small social media following. I think it was perhaps a couple of thousand. And, I didn't really feel like I was, an influencer or, making any sort of impact online, if I'm being quite honest. And anyway, I had somebody reach out to me from a company that sold planners. And I'd never had anything like this happen to me before. And this person reached out and they said, oh, we really love your platform, your profile. We'd absolutely love to send you one of our planners, one of our journals. And I was like, sure. Oh my God, that's amazing. I was so grateful and just so happy that anybody would ever think to sort of reach out to me and send me a gift. And so, I was like, great, send it over. And I didn't necessarily at the time click straight away that this would be the planner until it arrived and I opened it and I was like, well, there it is. This is exactly what I've been asking for. I didn't have to go out and search for it. I knew what I wanted. I got clear on that and I just expected it to show up. I, acted as if it was already a done deal. And here it is, just easy, an easy manifestation. And it got me thinking, well, maybe I could just do more of this, more of these little things and just start having fun with it. Start making it into a bit of a game. And this is the thing, again, when we have things that we really, really, really want, and perhaps we've wanted it for years and it's going to be something that's going to completely change our life, like manifesting the career or like manifesting the home, we almost put so much pressure on ourselves to have those things. And with that pressure comes stress and resistance and the blocking of our desires. So often with the things that we're kind of a little bit more neither here nor there about, if we manifest them, great. If we don't, it's not a big deal. Often the other side of that is that they become so much easier to manifest because we don't have so much of that emotional hang up about having that thing. Okay, so I started to really play around with this and just kind of pick random things that I wanted to manifest and just start to see the results of that. And I started to realize, this is easy. This is so easy. If I just ask for what I want and get clear on that, and if I ensure that I've got no sort of beliefs that are out of line with that desire, if my energy is in the place of I've already got this, it's already a done deal, and I then just surrender to the process, I can have whatever I want. And again, it felt so much easier doing this with the smaller stuff. And it kind of all comes back to, because we don't have this sort of pressure that we're putting on ourselves, but there's none of those, a lot of the time with the smaller stuff, there aren't all of those low-lying negative beliefs about I don't deserve this, it's going to be a struggle, because it's just a small thing, we're not making it into this big deal. So a good thing that, another thing that I played around with was, okay, I'm going to manifest a free coffee. Now this was back at the time I lived in London. I was like, I'm going to manifest a coffee. And I'd heard about this thing that Pret did, Pret a Manger, a kind of big coffee chain in the UK, where they would just randomly give out free coffees. And I had never experienced this, to the point I was like, this just doesn't happen. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna, not necessarily from Pret, but from anywhere. I want somebody at some point to give me a free coffee. It took me less than a week to get that free coffee, and it was actually from a Pret store. I'd been in Pret so many times before and I'd never been given a free coffee. And so I went in one day and I ordered a pain au chocolat and a coffee, and guess what? They only charged me for the pain au chocolat. They told me the coffee was on me. And again, it was because I was putting out that energy of, I'm going to get a free coffee today. And it felt easy to do that because it wasn't such a big deal. And again, when you have these sort of smaller manifestations, these quick wins, it's evidence that this stuff really, really works. So then it comes so much easier when it comes to the big stuff, because you've got all of these smaller manifestations that you've experienced that are a sign that you are always going to get what you want. Okay? And when you let go of that resistance, when you just completely surrender to the process and just have fun with it, getting what you want becomes so easy. And again, this is the thing when it comes to the bigger stuff. Sometimes we zap away all of the fun and the joy from the process because we're so desperate to get there. We're so desperate to have the house, the relationship, the career, that in that desperation being a low level vibration, we actually block that desire away. When we put less of an emphasis on the desire, it's like, oh, well, it's this thing that I want, I'm going to get it, and I'm just going to get on with my life in the meantime and not let it consume me. When we're in that sort of more playful energy, it becomes far easier to call in what we want. So give this a go. You could do it with maybe a free coffee, with just something small, like something that you kind of want, but also equally, can kind of let it go as well. Like you're not so hung up on having that thing that, you're constantly thinking about not having it. Because that's the thing, right? Often when we look at something that what we want, we're doing so from that place of lack. We're like, I really, really want this, because I don't have it yet. And manifestation doesn't work like that. We need to think about the things that we desire from that place of, it's already mine. And from my experience, it was so much easier doing that with the smaller things. So give this a go. Have a fun with it. Have, experiment with it. It's not supposed to be this big, big task that you give yourself to do. Just, let it be something that just fits into your everyday life. Have a play around. And I'd love to hear, what are some of the smaller things that you're manifesting? Start to celebrate those things. Don't just celebrate the big wins. Get into the habit of celebrating every tiny milestone, because in that energy of celebration as well, that's the place that we need to be in to actually call in more. So reach out to me, Dani_Watson_coaching on Instagram. Let me know what are some of the smaller things that you're manifesting right now. I would love to hear. But hopefully this episode gave you a little bit of inspiration of something to sort of try out this week. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and I will catch you on the next episode. If you are wanting to build your own successful online coaching business, make sure to check out Freedom, Abundance and Impact, our free 10-day business and mindset course for coaches and aspiring coaches. To access, simply head to wearetheclique.com and click free course in the menu.